What's going on, guys? BladeZilla here, and today we're taking a look at another super special ultra rare piece that was made available via lottery from the recent R1 Invitational for January. This is a Tom Mayo white CarboTi Hawkbill TNT that's hiding in this pouch with a super sick kind of superhero case that's going on. I love everything about this. We're going to go through that. Before I open this up and show off the knife, just a reminder, check out my website, BladeZilla.ca, which is right there. It is my personal website where I have a store, Shirogorov stuff, bunch of knives available, ready to go in Canada, and they are, if they're showing there, they're in stock and available. So trying to help out my Canadian hombres the best as possible to get some of this cool content into your mitts. So a nice little shout out. As a reminder, this is a coffee style conversation. I'm not going to go in too much detail on specs and whatnot. It's just a super cash conversation looking at great knives like this Tom Mayo. So this one I will be putting up on the site because anytime you win a lottery at a knife show, you definitely always have to take advantage of it because you might not get the chance to see this ever again. It's the kind of thing where it's like, hey, if you like it, great. You may as well pull the trigger on it. So no COA, just for reference. I'm just going in the box here, or the bag. No COA. These are all one-offs. Like I said, super cool superhero thing, which is awesome. I love this kind of stuff. I'd love to know who made this, because I think I could put these on the site pretty easily and have a following on them. But enough about the case. That's not what we're here for. We're here to look at this. Ooh, that is the first pull. Oh, cool. There's a lot of detail. I can see some like grind stuff on the blade. I can see just that big swoop. That is a cool knife. It's certainly interesting. I've never had, so they call this obviously the Hawkbill, which is obviously the blade, which is a CPM 154. I don't know if that's going to be written on here anywhere. This is my first experience with a true Tom Mayo. I've got a number of Shirogorovs. Actually, I've got two beside me here that I will compare it with in the Tom Mayo family, but never actually seen an authentic one. So CPM 154 blade. Let's just do a quick look around the knife here to see if that is anywhere. They are handmade, so they are very normal to have some little, I don't want to say the word blemishes, but you can tell they're made by one person by hand. Usually, I do not see CPM 154 written anywhere, but there was a knife I reviewed recently. I think it was the Riet Tiger, and I could not find for the life of me where the frickin' thing was written. And then as soon as I stopped filming, it was right here inside the handle. So anyway, CPM powder metal 154, which is a lot of makers really like this. Let's start with, I guess, specs. So we've got the white CarboTi handle, which is kind of what the whole point of these invitational shows are. They're getting one material where they get to try out and make with the makers. They utilize that and make their knife. So I still have this here. This is mine. There we go. So Shirogorov. WKM, which I believe stands for White Quantum Model, and they use the white CarboTi in the inlay. So super cool. Love that kind of stuff. And this is their version of how they wanted to utilize the material. So we'll get into specs. Let's do some quick measurements. So let's go. 8 1/8 is what I'm kind of seeing, maybe a little bit, right around 8 inches. That's what she said. Roughly. Blade length of 3.5, I believe, maybe a hair more to the center of the choil. Handle of 4.5. So pretty good. It's a good size. If you would have told me it's a 3.5-inch blade, I would say it probably feels a little bigger because just the actual profile itself is kind of what it is. It's a satin rubbed, I believe, hand rubbed satin finish, Hawkbill CPM 154. So you can see lots of cool lines. As I said, you can kind of see some marks in the actual sharpening. When it is done by hand, you do get these cool little lines and whatnot. You get the Tom Mayo logo, which is super sick. I love seeing that kind of stuff. And just the finish is beautiful. You get this amazing profile to the blade that is nice and smooth. Flat grind, I believe. Oh, it might be hollow. Definitely hollow. Cool. Really slicey, but yet pretty thick steel is kind of being used here. I'd probably say in the 4mm range without miking it. You're definitely not going to be wanting to choke up on the end of this blade as well. As you kind of move down the handle, it's still fairly sharp up top here. So I don't know if that's supposed to be used for anything, but not sharp, but it's just definitely pointed. If you're going to go past here, there is as well, if you look from the side profile, as your thumb would naturally go into this spot on the blade, it does end in a stop point here. So you're not going to be able to slide past that, which is a nice little touch. Now in terms of where I want to hold this, I'm kind of getting two spots in terms of the carry profile. One would be kind of choked up under the pivot, and the other I could see myself kind of sliding back into that initial spot there. So there's two kind of positions I'd say. I'd probably err towards the front position, and this is obviously used for pulling more than cutting, which is cool. We've got the Tom Mayo kind of bullet holes, which looks phenomenal. And I can't see, I haven't looked at the back, they have that kind of like edge work to it quite yet. It appears to be, yeah. So all the holes are, I don't know how they do that, if they call it like a bird or like a bullet hole, but it's all kind of notched, which looks phenomenal. You see through the knife as well, which is, half the point of this thing, is you want to be able to see through on all those holes. They all line up, which is cool. All the hardware on this one, I believe, is a, what do they call it? I think they use like a ceramic ceramic bead blast, so like a plastic bead, which gets it a nice look. All the hardware, I think it's screws, and then standoffs, and probably clip and frame, which is a nice smooth, I'd say it's not coarse, but it's not 100% like a glass blast. It's just nice. Nicely done. Looks like Torx all throughout as well. And definitely a handmade knife. The clip's pretty standard, Nice little bend to it. Nice profile. Just really cool. And now you can actually kind of see even on the back here, there's a couple holes that even are trying to line up a little bit, which is awesome. No milling on the inside of the carbon. It's completely naked, as they say, so there's no milling. And then on the inside of the tie as well, it is also no milling. But the knife feels solid, it feels light, which is kind of crazy. When I first picked this up, I was like, oh, this is really light, but firm and solid. It runs on, I think, Teflon, or I think it's Teflon washers. So it's more of a, how can I describe it? It's more of a Chris Reeve style feel to it, in that it's not drop shut at all. Like, it's a very, hunting style knife. Like, it's not moving around. It's tight. I imagine that will wear in over time and kind of loosen up. You've obviously got your thumb flick that you're going to use. I would probably just kind of slow roll that out, personally. Or if you want to fire it out with your finger on the back and reverse flick it, you certainly can do that too. But it's got to wear in. It's certainly got to wear in. Now my question is this. Any guesses if that little pin there is going to act as a stop for the blade? I don't think it does. There's a gap there. Cool. Really cool. Well, maybe it does. Maybe I'm blind. It might. Probably does, let's be honest. How else would it stop? super cool. I've always loved the Tom Mayo collabs of shear go-offs. I'm going to show a couple of those right now. Just for comparison, you know, I don't have obviously a big Tom Mayo collection of knives to showcase and show off, but I do have my Tom Mayo Dr. Death full tie, which is a cool knife, and then I've got somewhere here a Arctic Dr. Death, which actually just came in the other day, and I'm going to have to go through this one, and it will probably end up on the site at some point. But there you go. So a couple Dr. Deaths, which is cool, which is, you know, the holes. And I've done a video on not these knives, but both these models in the past, and how, you know, the newer versions have a bigger hole through them, whereas the smaller ones are a little bit kind of throttled, I guess you could say. So you have the holes reduced in size on the Tom Mayo Dr. Death. Super cool knife. These are becoming very difficult to find. And then on the Arctic Dr. Death, as you can see, it's just a full bore right through the knife, which is cool. But that's, I didn't plan on breaking that out, so I apologize on having to quickly put it back in the box. But there you go. Tom Mayo is definitely a maker I would like to kind of experience a little bit more of, to kind of get a better understanding. RJ Martin's another one. It's just, you know, one of those makers where, you know, why are people doing collabs with them? And there's a reason for that, and it's because they're really, really well done, honestly. Yeah. Anyway, so I like the feel of it. It's light. I'm gonna get a scale under this as well. I can't see it being more than, you know, 4 ounces, probably 3.5. You know, they always say the weight to blade ratio. Have you guys heard that? You know, if it's 3.5-inch blade, it should be 3.5 ounce. That's kind of the Goldilocks rule anyway. There's exceptions to every rule. You're kidding me. 3.4, 3.5-ish. Yeah, okay, I was close. I said under 4. I always use 3.5 as just an average, but that's right. That's the Goldilocks size. So it doesn't feel heavy. It certainly doesn't feel light either. It just feels solid as a tank. And you know, blade grind, that's super sick, as you can kind of tell here. Really cool. Kind of see some notches on however they want to do that. Just seems like a well-made blade. The clip, you know, for a price point of this, I kind of wish the clip was like more of a CNC machine kind of design versus like a stamped clip. I'm sure there's some process to this one, but whatever. I guess the purists, you know, if I was to critique the design, and I'm not that person, right? I'm not the guy to critique, but purists would say, well, how come the clip's attached externally rather than internally? I could see that. But it's useful. You know, it's easy enough. It is threaded right into the frame, so there's no hardware on the other side that's going to fall out. The problem with that is if you strip the hardware, or strip the frame, well, not the hardware, the frame, that's going to be a problem. But everything else looks like it's two-sided, which is nice because you got something to screw into, which would be the standoff. We've got, I don't think they use over travel stops on these. Can you guys see? I'm just looking down inside it. I don't think I see one. I'm not going to push this out the other way, but it seems to me like just a standard detent ball on the inside with a tie frame. Let's take a look. Which I believe is the case. If it wants to focus, I'm sorry guys, I really am. That's what I'm seeing inside. Let's get this to focus. As you can kind of get a little idea of the lines inside. That's what I like to show with that, is just to show you the lines. So there you go. Yeah, nicely done product. You know, a couple things that I would personally change on this, just based on my sheer gore-off kind of style, I guess, is I wish the lock bar was elevated, because when you roll that, right, it's not lifted. And I will show on... Did they do that on... No, they didn't do that on the Dr. Death, did they? They did a cutout on the other side. So that was their workaround here, if it wants to focus. You can kind of see how... Well, it is maybe... There is the cutout here, but the lock bar is raised out of that cutout, so you can kind of get it, which is useful when the knife is thin. That's the whole point of that. So, you know, I would like to see a little bit more of a bevel on the inside of this knife to actuate that, but that's also going to be something over time you're going to learn to live with and figure out. It's really not a big deal. The person buying this knife is going to be someone who just likes a solid, well-made one-off that I would assume is going to hold its value. Right? There's only one of these. It's unique to a show. It's a lottery piece. There's not 20 of them floating around. Handmade in the States. Good, you know, CarboTi and titanium frame. Obviously tip-up carry, nice basic clip. Nothing crazy. Like, it's, to me, just a well-done, simple knife that you're not going to have to worry about. You know, CPM 154 will be a nice, easy steel to sharpen, play with, utilize. The Hawkbill design is what's interesting. Like, to me, this screams hunter for, like, skinning or something, because it's something you're going to want to pull, right? Because of the angle of that, it really screams a cut that pulls towards yourself versus one, I guess you could push away right away, but it's pretty cool. You know, the only thing, like I said, the Teflon feels a little tight to start, but that I'm just assuming will wear in over time. And that lock bar, which there was a bevel. Otherwise, super comfortable knife. You know, fits nicely in hand. The craftsmanship is done really well on both the carbon as well as the titanium, all the way around. It's all smooth, and it's a winner. And what surprises me the most is how well done the carbon fiber is. That's a lot of makers were telling me carbon is a very difficult material to do well, because when you're doing carbon, you'll get these spots that'll just that'll bust off, or burrs that'll rip, and then the scale's toast. So you're looking at this. This is a 3D contoured scale. It's rounded. It's not just flat, guys. So that's difficult to do. Hopefully you can see that. You can see right in the middle there, that's the only flat spot right along there. But in hand, it's just nice and smooth. Your fingers fall past it. They can even use these as grippers as well. It's just a nice, smooth, well done knife. And then the bullet holes, come on. How sick are those? That's cool. And then you top it off with like a, you know, a throwback to like a Super Nintendo Superman style case. I think it's a cool knife, and you know, this is also a knife that's not flashy. It's just it's simply well done. This is exactly the kind of thing I'd be looking to grab. It's cool. Let's grab that case one more time to show if we can see. Maybe this is why they used it. What do we got? The Immortals. What do we got else here? Captain America, Superman. Is that Iron Guy? Is it Iron Man or whatever? Yeah, Iron Man. So it's kind of a Marvels thing, I would assume. And then on the inside, I just want to double check there's nothing hiding in here. No beads or anything. You never know. You know, a lot of knives come in, and sometimes I'll put in the ad does not come with COA, and people question why there's no COA, and I go, they don't make a COA for it. It's one of one. The knife is the COA, which is kind of funny, but you know, it's pretty special when you do get to experience the real thing. So I think whoever gets to check this one out, play with it, I think you're in for a treat. Just because it's a one-off, and it's a Tom Mayo. This is cool. And Tom, I think, am I crazy? Is Tom Hawaiian? I thought he was. So super cool knife. And I guess back here, I guess the lock bar bend, I didn't talk about how that's external as well. Very slight little bend on that lock bar. That's interesting. Centering, let's take a look here. Looks pretty darn centered to me as well, which you can see from both sides, and yet I'm not going to be able to get a finger in there and cut myself either, which is nice. So I guess, you know, you always wonder why they don't do a backspacer. Sometimes the backspacer is a bit of a protection from the blade, but that's not a real big concern here. So super cool. I'm just trying to go here. I've got a spec sheet. I kind of just did this off the top of my head, but I just want to make sure. So ceramic blasted tie hardware and pivot, ceramic blasted tie frame with mill pattern, white CarboTi presentation scale, ceramic blasted. Yeah, so pretty much everything I mentioned. And then CPM 154 Hawkbill CPM blade, super cool. TNT, love it. It's a sick model. I think this is going to be a real cool knife. I obviously compared it with some Shiros, and it's a cool one, man. I'm just trying to think here if there's anything in my collection beside me that I would kind of say falls in and around, and not really. Like, I don't really have many knives on washers. I will show it with both of the Chris Reeve knives here, which I actually have. I thought I had them beside me. I can see my Sebenza large. There you go. And actually, let's put it like this. That would probably be more indicative of the size. And then I thought I had my small Sebenza, which I guess I don't. That's okay. But there's your large Sebenza, and then I've got a Rosie here as well. Throw that beside it. There you go, much smaller knife, the Rosie, and then I could do a neon if you want to see that. I remember the angle of the camera, right? So I like to kind of put it up top. That seems to be more of the size. And then we'll do the Grimsmo. You know, just some smaller makers. Not that John Grimsmo is really small anymore. And then, and what else? I could do the Hog House. I did a video on that one already. Model T. There we go. And apparently my messenger's going nuts. I apologize. I do not organize any of these things. I just kind of go and film and shoot them and talk knives while drinking coffee. And so there you go. I apologize about the sounds, but there's your Tom Mayo. White CarboTi Hawkbill TNT, which I am now going to take some photos of, some detailed close-ups, and post it up on the site. And I don't know if I'm going to try to time this video with its release. Usually I just, as soon as I have it, I like to put it up, which, you know, gives you guys more reason to visit the site. And follow me on Instagram, actually, because most of the time, 90%, that's when I'll just throw a story up with added to store or whatever. And you know, if you're following, then you get first dibs at it. But normally, when I have a new multiple product launch, then I'll time it if I have multiples of something. So I just have the one, obviously, just because there is only one, and it's going to probably hit the store later tonight after I film a couple more videos and drain a few more camera batteries. So there you go, guys. Super cool knife. I think high things of this. And I think whoever gets it is going to be stoked. So there is your beautiful knife from Tom Mayo, White CarboTi Hawkbill TNT Recon 1 Invitational knife. Alright guys, have yourselves a great week, and we'll talk soon. Peace.